Hi, this is Mike with BasedGamer. We're here at the first ever TwitchCon 2015. I'm here with
Tim Morten from Blizzard.
What's your role at Blizzard?
I'm the lead producer on Legacy of the Void.
Tell me a little bit about Legacy of the Void.
Legacy of the Void is the third StarCraft 2 installment. This is the conclusion of the StarCraft story, so not just StarCraft 2, but also the story from StarCraft 1, the resolution of Raynor and Kerrigan's story, Zeratul, Artanis. It's really a big moment for StarCraft.
So who will be the main character in this campaign?
We start off with Zeratul in 3 missions that we call Whispers of Oblivion that were a precursor to the main campaign for Legacy of the Void. We get into the main Void campaign. You'll be playing as Artanis, the leader of the unified Protoss.
Tell me a little bit about Artanis' powers in game.
All right, Artanis has access to this ancient Protoss arc ship called the Spear of Adun that gets discovered partway through the campaign. The Spear of Adun enables some mechanics mid-mission on the battlefield that get called down from orbit, and there's a range of powers. You actually get to choose how you're going to pursue those powers with the resources you get during missions. But it's a really potent new addition to the game mechanics of StarCraft, and I find them to be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of new game mechanics in this expansion. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
On the single player side for campaign, it's these Spear of Adun powers. We've got a whole new mode of co-op missions. And in the co-op missions, each commander that you play has a different set of units and abilities. And some of those abilities are unique to co-op mode. Many of the abilities are set up so that they can help you assist your ally. Because, for instance, you and I would team up against a computer-controlled opponent, and as we play through the mission, we would have to help each other out to win the mission. So that's co-op. Then on the competitive multiplayer side, there are just a ton of new units, modified units from the prior games. We've got a higher starting worker count. We've been making some changes to the macro to take some of the repetitiveness away and enable you to have more attention to put towards using powers on the new units. It's just a breadth of change across the whole game.
Let's focus on co-op for a little bit. So tell me, who are the commanders you can play as?
All right, when Legacy of the Void launches, we will have 6 commanders, and we're hoping to continue extending that. Of course, you'll have Raynor, you'll have Kerrigan, you'll have Artanis.
What inspired you to make the co-op game mode?
Co-op is a mode that, you were sort of able to team up with a friend through custom gameplay before, but it didn't have a sense of meta to it. It didn't have a sense of campaign-style objectives to it. We wanted to have something that provided campaign players and multiplayer players alike more depth, more hours of gameplay, and really give a way to play the game cooperatively without having to worry about losing to other human opponents.
Really exciting. And do you guys have a lot of big plans for co-op in the future? You said you're going to continue to release more commanders, rather?
Absolutely, yeah. Both on the maps front and on the commander front, we want to continue to build out this cooperative mode. We feel like it's just got a ton of potential.
Multiplayer has changed a lot too. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how the meta will change with the new units?
Absolutely. At a high level, some of the things that we've been trying to encourage are more harassment opportunities. Things like, being able to transport siege tanks, being able to sort of warp in battle cruisers, just, opportunities to have those harassment moments along the way. A lot of the changes on the economy front, 12 starting workers and changes to how many minerals and gas, encourage earlier expansion so that being more spread out, there are more opportunities for conflict. And then on a unit-by-unit level, the new units have encouraged more micro. They have more abilities that are about actively being used rather than passively being used, and that just enables players to show off their personal skill ceiling and continue to develop as they play through the game.
And how much higher do you think that skill ceiling will be with all the new changes to the macros?
One of those things that there's no theoretical limit to, and even recently with this new Archon mode that we've introduced to multiplayer where 2 players can team up and control one base, one army, we didn't necessarily think that the skill ceiling would go up, but you put 2 pro players together in Archon mode, and what they're able to do is just amazing. So, yeah, we'll see how that evolves over time.
Do you want to tell us more about Archon mode, just in case?
Archon mode grew out of this idea we had before of enabling 2 players to control the same set of units. That was something that was possible in StarCraft 1, but now that we've turned it into its own dedicated gameplay mode, it's got a ladder around it, it's got a lot of user interface improvements around it. It feels like it could be a good tool for coaching. Put a player who's very experienced together with a new player. Their matchmaking rating is combined, so it's not hurting the better players' MMR and ladder, but it gives that new player a chance to learn without feeling like they're just thrown to the wolves, in the middle of ladder. But then in the mid-tier, you take two players who are fairly competent, combining their APM really enables them to level up. And then, as I mentioned, on the pro level, we don't even know how high that skill combined player ability can go. It just, the possibilities seem endless.
Now, the game gets more deep and more complex over time. How do you as a dev make sure it doesn't get too convoluted or too much to keep track of?
Particularly for real-time strategy, where there are so many discrete elements. There's resource gathering, there's base building, army building, and then there's the skill around actually fielding the army. The game inherently has a lot of depth. We've tried to do things to really make it more accessible for Legacy of the Void. The first is, Legacy of the Void is standalone, so you don't have to own Wings of Liberty, you don't have to own Heart of the Swarm. So right there, you can just get in and play the game. But we've also revamped the tutorial, so we've got an all-new tutorial that should onboard players, I think, better into real-time strategy, into StarCraft. And I think these cooperative game modes, both the co-op missions against AI, but also Archon mode and multiplayer, should provide a mechanism for new players to come in and not have that same intimidation factor that classic competitive multiplayer has.
And what other features have you added to help beginners? I hear there's a lot of new features being added.
The user interface has been revamped to a great extent as well, and we're also working on building out just some support content in terms of articles and videos to help onboard players, so we'll start to see some of that come online after Legacy of the Void launches.
That's great. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the new units?
Sure. Let's see. There's a big breadth there, and we are still iterating on units in the beta, but I'll say on the Protoss front, Adept is probably the most popular unit, able to sort of cast a shade of itself and then jump to that point. So it's good both for offensive and defensive moves. The Zerg front, Ravager, has been a very popular addition in terms of its ability to break Protoss force fields. I think players were really asking for ways to deal with that. I should mention Lurker as well, being a very popular Brood War unit that's come back, now has siege range. But yeah, really, we're iterating across the board on these units in the beta, and we'll continue to do so. On the Terran side, we had a unit, Herc, that we took out and we've since replaced. Liberator, just to talk about one of the Terran units, is a popular new addition there. Some people liken it to a flying siege tank. It's not entirely accurate, but it does have a lot of really good gameplay roles, very effective against mutas. It's just exciting to have new options to play with in gameplay.
If you had a general direction of what these units were adding, what was your goal for Legacy of the Void? What were you trying to add to the meta?
From a new unit perspective, one of the big interests definitely was more opportunity for micro. It's not fair to make that as a blanket statement, but I think if you look at unit abilities in general across the new units that we've added, it does just provide some more opportunity for players to show off their personal skill at micro.
There's been a lot of changes in the beta lately. Do you think things will settle down in the next 2 months, or do you think that after Legacy of the Void comes out, we'll still see a lot of changes in the meta?
We want to keep the game very vital and alive post-launch. There's a certain amount of stability that we're looking for so that the first season of WCS that gets played on Legacy of the Void doesn't cause players to have to, readjust all the way through the season. So, we generally try to time big changes with the edges of seasons for WCS so that the pro players can have time to adapt and have time to get used to the new changes. But at the same time, we don't want to become stagnant. We really do want StarCraft to continue to evolve and continue to just be the best game possible.
How has Twitch affected Legacy of the Void?
There's such a history between Twitch and StarCraft, and if you guys were here at the TwitchCon keynote yesterday, you see in that first Justin TV screenshot, StarCraft 2 is up there. You see on the influencer list of people that they called out, Total Biscuit, Red Eye, like key StarCraft community members who have really contributed, I think, on the Twitch side as well. So it's wonderful to see that synergy between StarCraft and Twitch. Now that Legacy of the Void is coming out, all of the tournament play that we see coverage for on Twitch, all of the streamers who are out there playing the beta, getting people excited, playing Archon matches, getting people excited. It's just such a wonderful way for people to share their excitement around StarCraft 2 with others. And we love that, and we just can't wait to see where it goes with Void launch.
Do you plan on holding any big upcoming events with Twitch?
We're going to continue to leverage Twitch as a platform for really all of the big events that we do. Because of some of the multiplayer changes we've already talked about, should be the most exciting esports season that we've seen for StarCraft 2 so far. We're very amped to see what the pros are going to do with the new units, with the economy changes, with the macro changes. Seeing that play out on a forum like Twitch, where hundreds of thousands of people have access, really millions of people have access, to see that from their homes, from their living rooms, that's just, it's a perfect alignment.
What kind of updates can we be expecting to see from Legacy of the Void in the future? Are you guys going to continue to build on anything other than the commander missions?
The whole team who's currently working on Legacy of the Void is going to continue working on StarCraft after Void comes out. Certainly you touched on commanders maps for the co-op mode. We always do new maps for season roles, for multiplayer, balance updates, but we're intending to continue adding features. We're intending to continue innovating in StarCraft. We've been so busy just finishing Legacy of the Void, we don't have specific things to talk about yet, but we're very much looking forward to the moment where Void is finished, the dust settles, and we get to figure out what we want to put our attention towards.
So you guys haven't figured out the next thing to put your RTS attention on yet?
Not yet, but we're very excited to get there.
Got it. Do you have any last message for the fans or the big StarCraft 2 hardcore fans?
This is the moment for the dedicated players to bring in their friends to check out StarCraft. This really is the time, with the cooperative modes, with the new tutorial, that I think StarCraft should be checked out by anybody who hasn't already had a chance to play it.
Awesome. That's been great. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.